Good evening, everybody. Let's see. Sorry, I stepped away for a second to get ready. We got a bunch of people. The future of Marathon in Bungie looks bleak. Not gonna lie, I really hope I am wrong, though. Really excited about the premise of the game. I'm also excited about premise of the game. Aiden, thank you for coming out. Yeah, I think I talked about it. Obviously, my last video was about the unfortunate Christopher Barrett situation, so... the majority of the news we've gotten this year has not been super positive, which is kind of funny because I feel like so many people are talking about it. And, you know, we have these two videos, one of which is now removed, and all of the news we've gotten this year has been pretty much a bummer. But obviously a lot of people are still super excited to see how it turns out. I don't care if it's bleak, I just want to see what's going to happen and get a first row ticket. Absolutely. Tawny Boy, how are you doing, Tawny Boy? Glad to see you. I'm infertile from eating scented candles. Ugh, I know your pain. I know your pain. Sugar cookie, apple cinnamon, all great flavors of candles. Ghosty Games, hello, Ghosty. Concord should have been Destiny DLC, and we should have gotten Marathon already. Interesting. I know Concord had like 600 people, right, the day it came out or something. Unfortunate. The volume of the mic is a bit low. At least it looks like it. Okay, hold on. Let me try this. Oh. I think it may have been a positional thing. Is this better? I'm going to be yelling at you all night. All right, let me know if it's still a little messed up. Big Vig, sup? How's it going? All right, so obviously the plan tonight is to go over the leaks, the rumor stuff, and we'll get to that on X here in a second. I had somebody on Twitter kindly tag me in that, and I saw it on the subreddit, so we are going to be going through that stuff. I've not read any of it, so this is my kind of initial reaction to it. So if halfway through it turns out to be a troll or something, I would not know. But before we get into that, I wanted to go through and show you guys one thing. I have not watched these videos yet. I watched this first video, and I left a comment on this guy's channel, Tau Ceti News Network, because I thought it was a cool concept, and I liked his little thing here, reporting live from the Equanimity, bringing you news about Bungie, the Marathon series, and other sci-fi games. So I thought it was pretty cool. This was like an AI-generated kind of like channel intro. But he said he had replied to a comment saying that the others weren't going to be like this. I haven't watched these two videos yet, but it seems like they're not getting a lot of views, and it seems like he's putting a lot of effort into the channel. So I definitely say check it out, and obviously we're about to talk about this tonight, so I thought it's only fair to shout out somebody who uploaded a video prior, especially within the same space. But definitely give it a watch. Let me know what you guys think when you look into that. I'm glad to see more people are out here making videos about that. Also, I wanted to show off some more Marathon 64 fan models. This is Misplagued on Twitter. The Marathon story page featured this art today, and I think a few days ago as well, this image. But these are like low poly Mega 64 versions of Marathon shit, and it is so cool. This right here with the compiler, I love the idea of a third person rendition. And look at the Marathon. This might be, and I said this here, I think this is my favorite rendition that I've seen of the Marathon so far. It kind of combines the well, it's really like a take on the Marathon from the trailer, but it does kind of have some of this like light structure and stuff from the original that you see when you're looking out from the 4 ship at the Marathon. This thought was so cool, and I'm kind of intrigued about this kind of like lighter area on the backside here, if that's like a take on the satellite kind of dish array system that they have going on in the original. But I thought I'd show this off. Obviously, follow this person on X. Give it a look if you like this stuff. Very cool. It seems like they're doing more of it. All right, let me just make sure we're good here. Okay. All right, and then this, I was tagged by Nito, kindly tagged me and Bon, who I'm sure has looked through all of this. So earlier, let's see, August 29th, so a few days ago, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, we got this, the Marathon expose from Oops Leaks, or Oliver Olay. It's not a hero shooter. It's not getting canceled. Barrett was replaced by Ziegler more than a year ago. People can't read and think. Now a deep dive below. Marathon is probably the best existed IP to get an extraction shooter angle. Now, I think just from this little thing, I do agree with that. I think what is missed in a lot of the conjecture around the fact that they're utilizing extraction shooter to kind of reboot the series is that Marathon itself was kind of very ahead of its time. The idea of like putting a compact narrative into a first person shooter with the amount of depth that was found in the terminals, even just vertical aiming, dual wielding weapons, these are all, kind of foundational concepts to what was kind of a burgeoning market that is first person shooters back in the 90s, and that's where Marathon, cut its teeth. So the idea that it's being rebooted into the burgeoning market of extraction shooters does work really well to me. They banned X here in Brazil, so I can't see any of this. Ghosty, no. Great, can you see my screen? Is it banned that? Is that, how far? Bon, how's it going, brother? I saw you were tagged in this as well, Bon. If you can't see it because you're in Brazil, Ghosty, on the Marathon subreddit, they have screenshots of the bulk of it, which I was going to look at after this. So if you do need a source for it. Now, before we kind of dive into what this guy is saying, I thought I would do a little bit of very minor detective work here. Just because I have no idea as to like the validity of any of this that this individual is saying. So I kind of went back through and I looked at some of their stuff. The earliest thing I could find was from 2021, and it was kind of like a bunch of tweets about behind the scenes kind of BioShock information. And this person has claimed or had claimed that the next BioShock was called BioShock Isolation, set in a new to franchise isolated dystopian city. I don't know if that's really a leak, if you've played any of the BioShock games. I guess Infinite was kind of not like a dystopian city per se. It kind of became dystopian as you were there, though. I guess it was still livable in the beginning. So I don't really know if that's a leak, but I kind of, read through some of this stuff just to kind of see. And then I kind of looked in to see like, oh, was there any truth to this stuff? Did any of it turn out? The only thing I could find was this article, and you can see here, also uncorroborated rumors in 2021 that BioShock 4 would be called BioShock Isolation with one Twitter user, and this links back to Oops Leaks as well. But this article is from June 7th of this year. So that's kind of like the other major leak that I saw here. I'm seeing the screen. I can't see it on the app. Well, good. I'm glad it doesn't go that far for you. But just kind of like going through, it seems like this person will get what they believe to be kind of like very secretive behind the scenes info from somebody. Like this even seems like for internal use only, not for external distribution, cloud from 2K Interactive. So this seems to be like a behind the scenes PowerPoint that they've kind of like blurred and put their little watermark over. But it seems like they'll get this kind of information, then post like a bunch of stuff. And it seems like they feel like they've gotten some info about Marathon. All of the tweets I found were kind of related to this big leak. And then as I kind of went up, there was stuff like this. Like 2021, Stalker 2 will be released on PS5 after a 3-6-9 month period of Xbox Series and PC exclusivity. Now, Stalker, right, is still not out yet, or it's coming out later this year, I think, to Game Pass. So my assumption would be that that's probably not accurate per se. I think if it's a Game Pass exclusive game, I don't know if they necessarily come to other platforms. I'm trying to think of an example of something that's kind of was released on Game Pass first and then went over. But, like Gears of War, obviously no. Halo, as of yet, has not gone anywhere else. So now this could be, a situation where this information was accurate in 2021. The game got delayed a bunch. Or maybe that's referring to a separate Stalker project that I'm just unaware of. But I'm just saying, before we kind of jump into everything this guy says, I do not seemingly, have not found anything that he said exactly that was entirely true. I'm sure some of what he said was confirmed, but I don't know. Ironic. Acquisition race won't end here. Solid deal, to be honest. Bungie has limitless potential united with Sony. But it seems like they're tapped in terms of like what's going on, relevant information. So we'll just take everything that they kind of say with a grain of salt, okay? And then once again, thank you to Neto for tagging me in this so I can take a look at it. All right. So let's dive in here. And I'm not a professional Twitter or X user by any means. So I'm not like, you know, if I'm not savvy or I miss something, let me know and I'll be sure to kind of backtrack and whatnot. But I believe this is the whole thread that we have here. And this should be kind of showing us in order everything that he put together, his entire expose, as he calls it. Which I love the graphic he kind of put together here. It's giving me kind of like a Bond vibe, stylistically, bringing everything together, using the right color palette. Very cool. All right. So he starts with, it's one of the lore-richest sci-fi games, and this lore is treated with enormous love in the new game. There are runners, cybernetic bodies that you control by transferring your consciousness to the new one upon death. The whole hero shooter freakiness is total nonsense. Okay, so to kind of corroborate some of this as I go, just with information we have, obviously, lore-richest sci-fi game. We would agree with that. I mean, I've talked about the ARG for hours. I've talked about the lore as a whole for, you know, even longer than that. And I do think there's some credibility to since that's being treated with enormous love. If you remember earlier this year, I made a video about some comments that John Goff, who I believe is the narrative lead for the Marathon project right now, had made about the ARG and about how more information was coming. And he kind of made this long post on Instagram and Twitter, I think, as well, just about how much fun and how much, you know, commitment the team had to putting something together that expanded onto the original game's, you know, narrative and universe, and also like had a lot of respect for you know, the property as a whole. So I think that that's fair to say. And the idea that the whole hero shooter freakiness is total nonsense, you know, that was kind of one of the, you know, main premises of my Marathon's hero shooter problem video, is that there's so much conjecture around hero shooters and you know what that could look like in this extraction shooter and this and that, and you know it really comes back to this is one sentence, you know, one hearsay sentence from somebody who worked there. I don't necessarily know that it held like a ton of weight, and also what is, you know, it talked about hero-based characters, but there's so many things that go into hero shooters. It could have been construed or even a misunderstanding by somebody who was making that comment to the individual reporter. There are content creators playtests basically every month, and the invited players are mostly EFT/Hunt streamers, not Overwatch, R6S, Valorant. People think that if ex-Valorant director joins any game, it instantly becomes a pixel-perfect competitive hero shooter. We know this is true. We had the stuff in July, the playtest, and a lot of those guys were Hunt streamers. I talked about that with Sato. I agree with the general sentiment around the post, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I struggle to believe that this is a real leak. Most of the stuff you stated, with a few exceptions, is somewhat known/expected info. Yeah, it's getting, this whole thread got a lot of traction in the subreddit as of right now, and like I said, this is my first time reading it. This all seems like stuff that's pretty much out there, and I don't know that this guy has any like background of being correct about past leaks beyond he has like a Twitter following and has made leaks before. This is what he said. This is just what I heard about Marathon from different people related to the game. After seeing the headlines that it's now Hero Shooter, I started my own research to see if it's true. That's the... okay. The closest thing I've heard that could be tied to heroes that there are 4 customizable runner presets: SIGINT, HUMINT, Field Eng, and Spec Op, for different playstyles, like in the finals, and this change predated the game director position switch. This sounds very aligned with kind of what Bond's video was about in terms of the different types of biomata being available and how they might, be more beneficial in certain regards. One might be more of a tank class. One might be more stealthy. That IGN article still irks me. I know, Tawny, but the fact that people like sort it or cite it as this this is the source saying it is a hero shooter now. You know what I mean? But this seems, fairly accurate to kind of like general speculation that would make sense what we see in the game. We even see a handful of these kind of identifiers. I believe signals intelligence appears in the UESC document. Also spec op when they're talking about the manifest for the equanimity. I believe they kind of even classify special operations crew as part of the tangent of individuals assigned to the operation as a whole. All right, cosmetics are the only way a free-to-play game could make money fairly, and how do people expect customizable characters in extraction shooter where your appearance is defined by loot you wear? So making a pre-made base characters that could be visually customized is an okay decision. Yeah, I mean, these are really just opinions so far. These are kind of like what Bon is saying. These are really just opinions based off what has kind of been publicly available. Free-to-play, I don't know if what he's trying to indicate here is that he believes it's going to be free-to-play. I haven't heard or personally seen anything to indicate that, but obviously a lot of kind of like ongoing games within the market are free-to-play, especially if you look at kind of the larger properties out there. Warzone, PUBG now, Fortnite obviously. It's business, not charity. I've also heard that they are targeting only for solo and trio experiences, which ties with this. Yes, I don't know if what he's saying here is like when he says what I've heard. This is and this is how it's posted in the marathon. So a leak that goes against the one on 4chan. Is this just like a collaborative? Like, let me put everything that I've heard publicly about marathon into one place, as opposed to like an actual like. He has some sort of source within Bungie that is feeding him information. Business, not charity, and I've also heard they're targeting for solo and trio experiences, which ties with this. I think in the Vidoc, right, they talk about kind of the 3-person trio teams. You choose your affiliation with different corps like the UESC, Traxxas, or MITA, which is a rebel group, probably for solo players serving as scavs from Tarkov or renegades from the Division's Dark Zone. Obviously, this kind of like spinning plates concept of 4chan leak. Yeah, I think what they're referring to there, Bon, is there was like, this was, unless there's a new one, I believe what they're talking about there was the Tarkov players who kind of like had some like Discord screenshots leaked about their sentiment around the game. I could be wrong. I'm going to go through this thread after this and kind of see what people are saying about it on there. But I believe that that's what they're referring to. They deleted the Vidoc from the channel I saw yesterday. Yeah, Ghosty, if you want to watch it, if you look at my community tab, Ghost Virus, who's a marathon YouTuber, has a version of it up on his channel. It has for a year. So if you still want to comb through it. But yeah, you choose your affiliation with different corps like UAC, Trax, or MITA. Obviously, if you've looked at the ARG, they're kind of setting up this multi-factional Cold War style event happening outside of Seoul. There are customizable weapons, barrel scopes, mag stocks, market to buy and sell stuff, seasonal progression similar to Destiny 2, artifact system, power level that's called BIOS points. It's now taking more of hunt direction rather than Tarkov. I mean, this whole sentence right here kind of seems ripped straight from Bon's video, where he kind of did that analysis of the Vidoc and, took those blurry background images and up-res them. And I think there was some stuff about like a black market. But also, if you remember, Bon had that video. Maybe I should just pull that up. I'm going to keep referencing it. But his Vidoc video had that image of the rifle that was kind of like broken up into pieces, right? But like not fully rendered. So this seems accurate. Would make sense. And obviously taking more of a hunt direction, I feel like would be a good move. I think and I could be wrong. I know there's like scavs in Tarkov. I still haven't gotten around to playing it. But hunt does have like a heavier PvE element where there's a goal separate from the other players. So like your primary antagonist is the PvP combat. But you also have a goal that's entirely separate from other players. So players are an obstacle to the goal that you're trying to achieve. So if we look through kind of what they were saying in the Vidoc, and you see kind of how the ARG information is kind of building stuff up. It seems like the runner's goal there is not necessarily going to be this kind of team deathmatch style red versus blue, combat, as much as it's going to be you're operating on a world with a bunch of different elements, and you want to gather intel, defeat enemy 4, deal with rampant AI, and there's going to be other players there with separate goals and interests from you. So it makes sense, and also you got to think about the popularity of Hunt versus Tarkov right now. I feel like Hunt is doing really well, especially since they kind of did this soft reboot kind of thing where now you're in the Colorado map and the whole new season. I feel like that's doing really well, and I'm seeing a lot of Hunt stuff everywhere. This is meaning that the focus is not on quadrillion types of items you can loot, but in objectives you can complete within one match. There's still enough loot, but it's not that overwhelming like an EFT, where you can extract with a backpack full of 2010 IKEA catalogs. That makes sense. I was talking to somebody, or maybe it was a comment on video, I can't remember. I do like the kind of looting stuff that you see in some of the, like Battle Royale, like PUBG style stuff. I do like that concept. I know I'd played that new extraction game about the aliens. Earlier this year, I'd played the open beta or alpha or whatever they had run. And I do kind of like the idea of this getting out of here. Or even Dark and Darker, where you're getting out with the gold and the loot. I do like the idea of like pulling stuff out of the match, and especially if we're talking about in terms of what Marathon has to offer, terminals and stuff like this, where it's actually like lore based stuff or information or maps or downloads of information that would help in follow-up maps. I think that'd be really cool. But then again, like item management, it depends on what kind of speed they're looking for within the game and whether or not that'll be kind of like viable or as exciting. But like I said, if it moves in the direction of Hunt, which has, zero loot basically, I would be okay with that. I enjoyed that a lot. I was wrong in my last Marathon report by saying that the map layout will change every time. There are normal big maps, but they were also testing a map that is controlled by glitched AI that randomizes some assets and theoretically makes its layout change every time. Interesting. Okay, so this guy, I didn't even realize that there was another Marathon, I guess, report that he had put out. Okay, see, so this kind of firmly places it in the, in the realm of leaks if he's kind of putting forth this very, like, direct information. Ghosty Game says double shotguns. Yes, if you watch my expectations video, that is the primary thing that I expect from the upcoming Marathon. I need to have my double barrels come back, Doom style. Glitched out AI that randomizes some assets theoretically makes its layout change every time. I really like this concept. I also understand, though, if the map is going to be the same. I do think that there's going to be elements that surely will be varied match to match because there's so many elements within what they've introduced already, just between the 8 AI and the 4 down there and obviously the other factions, that I think for a persistent world, there's gonna have to be a level of weight put into what people are doing and how they're operating, how that impacts the ongoing storyline and quest, as the narrative kind of grows, which is if, the Vidoc and what they were saying from last year is still on target, and obviously the information that, like I was talking about from John Goff this year, is still within the realm of kind of we can expect. I do think that there will be a level of kind of dynamic nature to what's occurring in-game, match to match with the map. No way it's being canceled. A lot of effort, budget, and creativity were put into this game. They're looking for feedback all the time with constant playtests and regular content creator playtests. Yes, this kind of reiteration of what he was saying earlier. And also I've kind of like talked about this, with Sony earlier this year coming out and kind of, Bungie is a major studio. They've obviously had a lot of success in terms of like creating products that people like. I think that could be super cool. Yeah, absolutely. I like even like kind of what he's talking about here that he's saying isn't true. The idea that the AI can be controlling elements of the map or, construction equipment or weather systems is something I talked about in my expectations video, I believe, as well, which could be a really cool concept. But this idea that the that Sony is going to cancel or that it's going to be shelved or anything, I think is pretty preposterous. Sony in its earnings call is listing Marathon as one of its upcoming live service games to its investors. They're saying, hey, this is going to be the primary way in which our company is making money. Like this is going to be one of our properties that are going to be so beneficial that as an investor you should be aware of, and it's listed, and even in the graphic that they released during that, um, they're signaling to people that this is something that they're saying is going to be ongoing, and yeah, I think the idea of it being canceled because of whatever poor reception based off a handful of scandals and weird news stuff coming out, highly unlikely. And even with this stuff about the layoffs, I mean, like I talked about in that video where I kind of went through the information we got from that, Bungie is obviously kind of directing the majority of its efforts towards this. Destiny is taking a huge backseat, and people are really kind of unsure as to where that's going to go from here. And honestly, even the information that they had put out originally about how their, not seasons, but their kind of episodic content is going to work has been dialed back slowly, since that time. And with the news of the layoffs, we saw even more comments, about, oh yeah, that's going to be even dialed back for less content, less contact, and like a smaller narrative playing out over a longer period of time. Which obviously, like I said, understandable if you're a, Destiny fan. You've been playing that game for a decade, and now this game that isn't even out yet and hasn't had any information for a year is now getting the majority of people. But Bungie is very directly saying, hey, the primary project that we are working on and where the majority of our teams are kind of positioned to provide efforts towards seems to be Marathon. Constant playtest, like we said earlier, obviously we know that this is true about the regular playtests occurring. We've seen proof of that via pictures, images, Aztec Cross saying that he's taking a family vacation, etc. This is the main project at Bungie. Matter and Payback are canceled. Gummy Bears is in the earliest stages. It's too hard for Destiny 2. That is slowly fades away to attract new audiences. Yeah, so this is other stuff that we got verified in the articles about the layoffs. Matter and Payback are no longer going on. And Gummy Bears, which I believe Sato was the one who kind of was telling me about the Gummy Bears project, and that may have been like a tie-in to Destiny 2, or was that one of the canceled ones? Either way, I believe that the Gummy Bears project, or the project that wasn't canceled and is still occurring, if that is Gummy Bears, that's accurate, is kind of being absorbed by Sony. Am I wrong about that? If anyone remembers kind of opposite or different from that, let me know. But I do believe that Sony is kind of bringing in the project that they're retaining, and that they're kind of taking people, like the people who didn't get laid off, but the 100-something people kind of moved, integrated into Sony directly, I think are going to be continuing on that project. Or we read something that indicated that. Gameplay reveal is around the corner, and if they are not yet ready to show it themselves, I'm pretty sure we'll see a controlled leak to get the overall expressions. Yeah, so with the layoff information coming, just like what I had kind of speculated about with the news about Christopher Barrett, and I've kind of talked about this a handful of times since then. We got this article from IGN, which is kind of the most news or attention that the game had received since the release of the trailer or the release of the Vidoc. And very shortly after that, obviously, was kind of when the marketing campaign for Destiny 2's last expansion shot way through the roof. So I think that was something that they were obviously aware of. People inside the company are talking to IGN. I think that kind of like is something that at this level, major company, major entity, millions and millions of dollars at play here. I think they were kind of aware that that situation was going to look the way it did. And behind the scenes, obviously, at a certain level in the company, not obviously the team working on Marathon wasn't aware of this, but the executive level of either Bungie or Sony was absolutely aware of kind of Christopher Barrett leaving and what was behind that. So I think when that article came out, it was very intentional that the Destiny marketing and everything from that followed very closely after. I think that was kind of like a very controlled situation. And the idea that this guy is saying that if the gameplay reveal, or if it's not ready for the gameplay reveal, which, obviously we're all at this point thinking is going to come in the Sony September showcase that they're going to do, a controlled leak to get the overall expression seems something within the realm of possibility. I mean, I don't know if that's something that Bungie has done before, at least in recent history. Obviously, I feel like under the thumb of kind of like a Microsoft or Sony, let's say Microsoft was, for when they were doing Halo, and Sony for the Bungie stuff, it seems kind of like something that maybe such a large corporation would want more control over. I don't know if they would do kind of like this guerrilla marketing thing. But I don't really trust this leak. I read his previous expose and his coverage on Concord was way off. Yeah, Christopher. That's what I'm saying. I'm going over it because it obviously got a lot of traction within the subreddit, and a lot of people, I've seen like kind of referencing it to what they're saying. What I will say is that a lot of what he says seems like very safe bets to me so far. The only real like assertion, I kind of got this last one to read, but the only real assertion that I saw him make here was the thing about the maps. That's going to be one map, and it's not going to be like changing like he had reported at some earlier point. And I guess also the affiliation thing, which we haven't seen directly commented on in terms of like you can be a UESC runner, a Traxxas runner, a MITRE runner. These are kind of the only real like major assertions. Hey, Hunter, finally caught a live. Let's go. Hell yeah, brother. How's it going? These are kind of the only assertions that I've really seen made here, and they all seem very safe. Even this idea that's taking more of a hunt direction, the PvE elements have been pretty evident from the very beginning, and obviously hunt is kind of shooting up, and whereas Tarkov has had a lot of negativity this year. So these are kind of things that seem like safe bets to me. But yeah, and I don't know if you were here earlier, Christopher, but we kind of went through his back catalog and looked at a few of kind of the stuff they had said earlier, and primarily his first like kind of speculative leaks was about BioShock Isolation, which from what I can tell that was 3 years ago and really hasn't turned out. We'll continue though nonetheless to see what he's got to say. It's a game with a good self-esteem. It's not cloning or making a direct copy of any games, especially the ones that flopped horribly. Yeah, I mean, the big thing that you're gonna, I'm sure when we go through the comments on the subreddit post here, that we're gonna see is a lot of people talking about Concord. I really hope Destiny or Bungie is looking at Concord and they're not gonna fall in trap of this hero shooter shit and stuff. I think Bungie's kind of tapped in with a lot of this stuff, and it was very intentional. When they chose the genre, I'm sure a shit ton of market research and conceptual kind of like artistic choices were made way prior to obviously us getting, a trailer or Vidoc or anything from them about this. So I'm sure the good self-esteem is the company is kind of behind this project. Obviously, even for the people who are left and still at Bungie, who've been around for a while, have a huge respect for Marathon, which is, truly kind of a pivotal game in Bungie's history. So if I'm not wrong, I think this is everything. I'll go through the pictures on the subreddit post as well, just to make sure that I'm not like a boomer over here on X misunderstanding how these things work. Bond said, I agree with the general sentiment around the post, but correct me if I'm wrong. I struggle to believe that this is a real leak. But okay, this is what you had said. Bond, this is what you had posted in here? Yeah, okay. To refuse someone known expected info. This is just what I heard about Marathon. Okay. I got you, Bond. I totally had a brain aneurysm when I was reading your shit earlier, Bond. My bad. So he had said, this is just what I heard about Marathon from different people related to the game. Just seeing the headlines that it's now a hero shooter, I started my own research to see if it's true. That's the whole point of this post, the reasoning behind why it's not a hero show. Okay, so less of a leak, more so shit he heard, people he talked to. Now, what I heard about Marathon from different people related to the game. Okay, so he is claiming to have some kind of affiliation with Is that what he's saying here? Related to the game? I mean, I would assume that, like, I'm not somebody who's related to the game, so thank you. I'm behind. My old brain is giving me a hard time. So, but I guess he is kind of saying here that he talked to. Does I mean somebody who works at Bungie? Is that what he's saying, or is this just somebody who also read a lot of stuff about Marathon? I don't know. Can you tell, will there be dynamic day-night cycle in the game? Love it in EFT, and I miss it in Hunt. I don't know. I was told that there are match modificators without any explanation. Could mean day-night cycle, weather, different match-wide effects, etc. Can't tell anything specific here, but it would be nice variety. Yeah, see, this boomer brain symptom number one. The all-timers is kicking in. I'm playing Marathon. I got a Marathon 1 lobby going extraction shooter right now. I'm just in there running around as a Bob. Where do I extract at? All right. So, but even here, look, he's saying I was told that there are match modificators. So he must know somebody who kind of either works at Bungie or knows somebody who works at Bungie. I know people at Bungie. Yeah, trust me, right? Oh, yeah, even great emojis. Brother. I know someone at Bungie, brother. We need to get Sketch out here on this. Okay. Bungie will have to knock the socks off the extraction shooter genre and impress the wider gaming community after the decline of D2 in 2 waves of layoffs. I just don't see them pulling it off with any meat to dig into. I think that is what they're trying to do. The genre is still open. EFT is too hardcore and complex. Hunt is on its own niche and very different. Yeah, these are all fair. This is all fair. I think his dad works at Bungie. Oh, dad at Bungie? We'll say, hey, I mean, that's fair. That's a fair, he might know something if his dad's at Bungie. You know what's crazy, but also not? If this was an actual expose in a negative way, you'd have like 3K likes right now and 500 comments. People want this game to flop so bad. Due to a total misunderstanding of what the game is, IGN's selectable cast of heroes has ruined the game's reputation quite bad, since everyone started to think that there is another hero shooter, which is obviously not the case at all. His dad created Bungie. Wait, his dad is John Bungie? Oliver, why didn't you say so? Yeah, this is, I mean, these are all fair. I mean, it seems like he's just saying, like, fair shit, you know? Please be true. Yeah, absolutely. This is the hopium I need. Hopium. Lovely. Okay. All right. Interesting. So let's click over here and see what people are yapping about over here on the subreddit. Reddit is very hit or miss. Reddit is either a treasure trove of a sharing of ideas or it's cancer. So we'll see what's going on. All right. This is the main project at Bungie. Okay. So we read this. Just making sure we didn't miss anything here. Read all that. Lore richest. Maybe, you know, maybe his dad does work here because there's some, or maybe English isn't his first language. We got one of these weird E's, so maybe that's the case. Lore richest. Okay. So it seems like we covered everything. What are people saying here? Sounds promising, to be honest. If the gameplay loop is done well, I could see myself playing for a good chunk of time. As a Destiny 2 PvP guy, this sounds fun. Yeah, absolutely. You know, everyone I've talked to, you know, Sneaky, I think, also was saying that he had played a bunch of Destiny 2 PvP. Sato, obviously, has played a huge amount of PvP, or Destiny 2. Maybe not PvP, but he's played a huge amount of Destiny 2. And I feel like that's what everybody is saying. Is like, man, the Destiny 2 stuff works so well. The gunplay feels so nice. If they had a game where they focused on the PvP and crafting, putting that together, you know, that would be super sick. Leaks aside, I really like how a lot of content creators have tried to match the graphic design identity with the thumbnails they make on Marathon. The last slide, to me, has a crazy good thumbnail. As for leaks to say the direction Oliver is describing does seem more Bungie style than a full Tarkov hero shooter dynamic. Hey, Sneaky, how's it going? Oh, and I have a conversation with Sneaky that I'm almost finished putting together, but that'll be coming to the channel shortly. How you doing, Sneaky? You know, I really like how content creators have tried to match graphic design identity. They're talking about you, Bon. Bon, if you're still here, look at this. This is a subtle shout out here in the Discord or in the Reddit. I mean, leaks are leaks. It's just conjecture and rumors until we see something. That's fair. Never heard of this leaker. He revealed good info in the past. See, why? This is what I need someone to respond to. Like, everyone's upvoting going like, yeah, need to know. The only stuff we could find was not kind of something that was backed up. Is there any reason to take this leak with more value than the other? 12:44 for me. In the morning? Yeah, Bond's the goat. Bond's the goat. Is there any reason to take this leak with more value than the other? It's probably pretty decently like that Marathon has changed direction at least once, which is usually in line with Bungie development mindset process. Some kind of free-to-play model is also decently likely, Battle Pass, etc. But do we actually know anything more than that? Cannot convince you that I am telling the truth, but what is said in those tweets lines up with what I've heard from friends that are at the company and near people who are at the company. Dun dun dun. Oh, midday. Gotcha. Oh, you just woke up 12:44. Long night. Hopefully it was a good time. Oh yeah, Arc Raiders demo gameplay comes out tomorrow. Beebledop, I actually have been, I've been offline watching some Arc Raiders shit. I was not aware that the gameplay coming out tomorrow. Demo gameplay comes out tomorrow. Like videos of the demo gameplay, or is there going to be like a legit demo? Because that would be cool. This is interesting. Can opener, dude. Would it be holy shit? They got 400,000 comic karma. Yun Bruh, great name. I remember seeing your post about Aztec Cross going to Seattle to playtest Marathon. Was that true? If so, Aztec Cross feedback may be really valuable to appeal more to us Destiny gamers. Yeah, Bon, I think while we were in live, I was doing a live stream. Somebody had come in and talked about it, and Bon sourced it to a video. One of his videos he had made, he said that. And he has used that kind of, going on a family trip thing before to indicate he was doing some stuff he couldn't talk about. He did it. I have not personally. I looked into his channel the next week or so. I did not see anything where he kind of followed up with any additional information, but I do believe he was out right for a few days during that time period. What genre is Arc Raiders again? It's been a while. Originally, Aiden, it was supposed to be a PvE kind of thing, but they turned to extraction shooter. So now it's supposed to be an extraction shooter. So wait, this guy says he's a. What are the rules here? Can I look through his shit on here? Is that creepy to see if there's any? He's saying he's got friends at Bungie. Yeah, this seems weird. I'm just gonna trust him. Can opener, dude. Can opener is an excellent kitchen tool. Sounds like a trustworthy fellow. I don't know if Aztec Cross did actually go. He made a video talking about some drama that happened on X during his trip. It seemed like it was just a family friend trip. Interesting, Sneaky. Thank you for that information. I didn't see that. So maybe it really was. Maybe this is his trolling. This is interesting though. This guy is saying that it kind of lines up. Once again though, I mean, just to remind everybody, everything this guy said, besides specifically the map stuff and whatever the other thing was, I guess the faction stuff, is all stuff that we've kind of generally, I mean, if you watch Sato's videos, Bond's videos, even Sneaky's video, on the trailer, very kind of common sentiment stuff that we've seen. By the quote, the other leak, do you mean the 4chan leak? If so, this one is more credible in the sense that basically everything on 4chan is fake. Fair. The other one wasn't a leak. It was a rumor based on hire. Interesting. So maybe I'm, Bon, earlier you had asked what were they talking about with the 4chan leak. Maybe I was misunderstanding. Maybe it was a massive cover-up at Sneaky. Doesn't seem outside the realm possibility. Maybe I was incorrect about, because I remember the 4chan thing that was linked here a while ago, almost a year ago, I guess at this point, was the Tarkov stuff where they had the streamers come in at the end of last year to do a playtest, and it was kind of had some negative feedback. Maybe the video is, quote, I got banned somewhat from a week ago. Thank you, Sneaky. Ignoring the content, I can see a bias towards Bungie in the language used, particularly the classic, quote, it's a business, not a charity line that makes my eyeballs roll painfully. Yeah. But if his dad is John Bungie, his dad works at Bungie. Maybe that's what his dad's saying to him. All right, the nod towards marathon lore, while still maintaining that it is somehow is a great IP for an extract shooter, makes me think this is someone who will think Bungie can do no wrong. So could be an employee or a diehard fan from post 2000s Bungie. Doesn't narrow down the veracity of the leak, but could give you an idea why they're creating leaks. Attention seeking is pretty high on the list of motives, but intentional leaks like OP mentions, marketing are a possibility. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. We're all high on copium. That's so tragic. No, did you see the comments? It's not copium, it's hopium. This is hopium. All right, this is a much more faith-based copium enjoyment. Class-based instead of hero-based is absolutely excellent. I agree. That's kind of what we've been talking about. And honestly, let's just pull it up. Let's just look. Go. Oh my gosh. I can't type. I got boomer brain. Oh my gosh. Look at this. I'm losing my mind, guys. I don't know why it's not popping up. If we go to Caramere's Lore Archive, and this is what I've been preaching throughout my whole thing, and we come over here, Sakaguchi, what is it, the cards? Translate this. And we talk about the Biomata, the clones. Okay, the B series, the A series, and obviously I have videos talking about this at length, and then we have the secretive P series clones that kind of are not talked about, and we discover through the emails between Sakaguchi and Traxxas. This is kind of like, from my perspective, very kind of throwing in our face. Like, look at the different types of classes or abilities that the different Biomata or runners, which are just, consciousness put into one of these Biomata, are going to be adaptable. The A series opens the door to that kind of life to become the person you always dreamed of. Fifth generation A series is born to bring joy to the life, seek a higher level of experience, more intuitive, polished by those who know life beyond excitement, meet any challenge. So like maybe this one is more perceptive, a sniper style, B series is not just beautiful, it appeals to the five senses. Create extraordinary experience that would combine power and beauty. Maybe like a soldier class as opposed to like a rogue class, tank class. I really think that a lot of these are safe bets just given the information we got from the ARG. Has everyone heard of the game Forever Winter? I just saw. I watched like their 2-minute video that they just put out where they were talking about how it's going to be like a one-time purchase thing. They're like super upfront with everybody. Another cool thing that they say in that is that, it's going to be this live service game. I don't know if it's an extraction shooter, or if it's just kind of like a Helldivers kind of thing, like a co-op shit. But they have like titans, or these really big like monsters that you're fighting. And they said that when they introduce new maps, they're going to put it into like a test server first. So you can go in, give feedback about what you like, and they're going to listen and kind of like change stuff based on the people playing. I really like that. Everything about the Forever Winter shit that I've seen has been like super, super cool. Like to see a company be that transparent is really awesome. Hope Marathon will have the same sort of design, arty vibe. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, for sure. And all the art that they put out now has been super cool. Kind of like a weird, like a clean cyberpunk aesthetic, but also has some of that kind of like psychedelic rigidness almost. What about Durandal being turned into a crypto server? Blue Oyster Cultist, excellent name. Rello made a really good video on it. Really cool setting. I'll have to check that out, Bob. 100% on board if this is all true. Want to believe. Yes. What is that? Was that the name of... Does anyone remember the Halo 3 campaign? About, was it Hope or Believe or something? Where it's all like action figures and... of like the battle, and then interviews with the soldiers, the UNSC like Marines from the actual war. I want to believe. Okay, X-Files style. The heroes essentially being misreporting of classes wouldn't surprise me at all. Interested to see human BS one of those classes though. Maybe that would be like a healer support class. Can't imagine there would be many people left on Taos 84 for the runners to interact with and gather intelligence from. Personally very excited. Much more hope for this game. I would much rather play this game than the one described on 4chan. Def picking to rep UEFC when the game comes out. Customizable presets like in the finals, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, choose affiliation factions. Yeah, I mean, these all seem very much so like. Haven't played Halo, Sneaky? Oh my gosh. You have no excuse now with, get a Game Pass trial. Play them on PC. It's a good deal. It's fun. It's very cool. It's definitely like the evolution of what you see in Marathon and how they kind of expand on a lot of those concepts. And that's kind of like Bungie's, whole history. I feel like if you look at like really talented individual artists or production teams that are making art over a long period of time, you see these kind of like thematic resemblance throughout their work, and I think that's something that Bungie has done really well. They wanted the kind of grandiose concept of kind of science fiction that extends over large areas, and they kind of have these like really lofty things like destiny, free will, and how AI kind of integrates with humanity and what life looks like outside of our solar system, which are those are broad concepts, but with the flavor that that Bungie chooses, they really introduce it in Marathon, and it grows throughout Halo, and now you have the Forerunners and these kind of large concepts about the rings and the cosmic core of the flood and stuff, and they really expand on those concepts. And then in Bungie, obviously gets even more depth to it. Or sorry, in Bungie, in Destiny, there's even more depth to it. Now you have this very kind of expansive story taking place over thousands of years, and a lot of characters fill out in really good ways. It's very cool. Bungie like has been good at thematically evolving and building out a lot of the concepts that have been the core of the company for a long time. Just dropped on the stream. The way things are, it will launch. Thank you, Jolly. Blue Oyster called. My question is, will the compilers be allies or hostile? If this is indeed post-Marathon 2, then we should at least see some friendlies fit. Here's my thinking, Blue Oyster cultist. I don't know that we're post-Marathon 2. My sense right now is that, for sure, I believe everything up through the end of Marathon 1, the information that we received from Durandal in the beginning of Marathon 2 appears to be true. I think that the Marathon reaches Tau Ceti, they establish a colony, Durandal calls out to the Four arrive, they destroy the Marathon ultimately, and then they destroy the colony. I think that all of that is true. There's so much stuff about Marathon 2 and Infinity that I just don't understand like how it would align, in any way. So obviously we have kind of this room for alternate timelines to exist. But conceptually, Robert Blake and his men, they left on a faster than light ship, at the end of Marathon 2. Where are they? Did they send any messages? Did they make contact with anybody? That would be a huge amount of intel to reach the UESC that would kind of determine a lot of what's occurring. Even, if we're talking about Marathon 2's ending specifically, right? Or is it, yeah, Marathon 2 ends with Durandal even saying that the UESC team up with the Svit and they sack the four fleet in their home system. So, and that happens in the late, maybe 2861. I don't know. Let's see how good I don't know how good my timeline is, off the top of my head, but those are all things that are entirely contradictory to what we're seeing in the ARG and within the Vidoc in the trailer, which appear to all be occurring in 2893, I believe. So I think the base stuff, I think all of the history that we get from 2 and Infinity is relevant, and I think that that's the kind of stuff they build off of within the ARG. They fill in the gaps of a lot of that lore narrative stuff with the introduction of Sakaguchi and Traxxas and expanding those ideas, and they fit really neatly in there. But in terms of like the events with the security officer and Durandal in the original game, I'm not convinced that the Marathon 2 stuff is canonical to what we're seeing in this. But will the compilers be allies or hostile? My assumption is going to be that the compilers who are at Tau Ceti would be hostile, unless, because I just don't know that, those would have been Svit that were still enslaved by the Four, just on a separate vessel that arrived to Tau Ceti after Durandal left. Because Durandal left, remember, 3 months prior to when the colony was destroyed. So those could be Svit who showed up, with that second wave of 4 who destroyed the Marathon in the colony after the security officer saves it in the first one. But my assumption would be that they are hostile, either because they're working with the 4 there, or they're just an entity that's stranded on Tau Ceti, kind of like, how the rest of the equipment and AI were left there. But I guess they could be allies if the 4 fleet has fallen in some capacity, and, the 4 as a whole is kind of like the Covenant, a group of, aliens who are all enslaved by the larger 4 kind of network here. So if the 4 are kind of in disarray, maybe we could ally with some of this fit. Hope there's some support classes. I like healing my teammates and stuff. Absolutely. It seems like there's definitely room for that. And even, in the end of the trailer, we get Brill and Patch over there. And I almost feel like Patch is kind of, named, Patch, like he's patching someone up. And I think he even kind of has this, and then in the trailer, if you look on his legs, I almost feel like that looks like a med kit almost to me, where he's carrying kind of more bulkiness on him. And if you look at medics, like in an actual combat role, they're obviously going to have a much larger pack because they have to carry tourniquets and such like that. Now, I don't know what the repair or medical equipment for a Biomata or a Sekiguchi series clone would look like, per se. Maybe that's, I don't know if you need a tourniquet, a Biomata leg. Maybe you got to pump it full of fucking green juice, like from the trailer. What's good all? Hey, Brendan, how's it going, brother? We're just reading through all this stuff about the Oops Leak guy, Oops Leaks on Twitter, what he said about Marathon, and he claims to, I guess, have some sort of inside source verifying this information. But I hope you're doing well, Sneaky. Well, I do have the Master Chief Collection in my Steam library. Maybe I'll stream it one day. Absolutely, Sneaky. Definitely stream it. I'd love to watch that. A first time going through the halls of the Silent Cartographer. Very creepiness. No excuse not to play. Blue Oyster Cultist, I think this new game is in a whole new different timeline. The UESC evidence views USA labeled the compilers as hostile. Good point. Good point about them being labeled as hostile. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The whole timeline stuff really throws in a bunch of crooks in it. Because you're right. Because all of what we see in Marathon 2 and Infinity could be entirely, just did not occur. But we'll have to see. Main problem might be player identity. People won't feel attached to pre-made characters. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, the actual characters you're playing, as are clones. So I think by, definition, they're kind of, there's a level of individuality taken out of them. So I think it's really going to lie in what kind of elements cosmetically and also, your gear and resources that you bring to the match can you change to kind of adapt that to your playstyle. Giant Onions, what's new? Just joined. I think it just described it, but we're going through the Oops Leaks stuff that was posted on Twitter, or X.com. Freshly banned in Brazil, as we were informed earlier. Someone on X made a post about new Marathon. We talk, thank you, Sneaky, for letting them know. Someone called Oops Leaks. Feel an event mission will be to prevent Durandal to rename the ship to Boomer again. Let him name it Boomer. Oh, name the Marathon Boomer. Makes sense, LOL. Awesome. All right. Person clearly has a bias to make the game sound better, but this is good to hear if true. It's just an execution of that concerns me. People have been absolutely crapping on this game based on nothing but rumors. Do people say crapping still? Is that still a thing? I feel like that's such a Bart Simpson's term. I don't know if I've heard anybody in real life say crapping in a considerable amount of time. Make my character a cute little girly for the smaller hitbox. White Rabbit. Destiny 2 sales underperforming with the resulting layoffs. I can understand feeling a bit oppositional to that. Please be true. Man, there are a lot of comments on this. Hope has been restored. Yes, I was right about the operator and drone when it came to characters you actually play as. It would make sense if you played as the heroes themselves in a permadeath type games. Yeah. Well, but once again, they were talking about the heroes things. You're playing as a clone. You're playing as... This is what, one of my biggest sayings just in life that I always come back to is you have to remember the concept that we are we're a consciousness housed inside of a body. So a lot of these stuff, talking about this, we're really playing as a machine, you know what I mean? And whatever consciousness inside of there, I don't know, would it really matter if that was a character? Let's say you load up Marathon and you have to pick a character. But so like you have to play as Samuel Jackson, but you're really playing as Samuel Jackson's consciousness inside of a biomata that you get to entirely configure. Which I guess if you want to have your own fan fiction, I guess you can be playing as whatever consciousness you want inside of the biomata. Does someone have a link to the leak this goes against? See, this is what I was saying. What did they say about Destiny 2? Is this a response here? Yeah, this is. It's a little mangled. Okay. Okay, wait, hold on. I sure hope you could cosplay. Yeah. Own headcanon cosplay. I'm going to be playing as Sneaky inside of a S-Series biomata. It's a little mangled. I think basically they mean Destiny 2 is fading away. Putting resources into potentially given that and that Payback and Matter have been canceled and Gun Bears is way too early in development to release anytime soon. The idea that Marathon is canceled or deprioritized is ridiculous. That was a weird reply to this. What did they say about Destiny 2? So nobody has the link to it. Marathon leak asks about Destiny 2. Well, good point. D2 stuff's pretty much summarized a version of the reports Bungie sent around layoffs. Studios now. Yeah, see, this is all the stuff that we read from that. So maybe that, maybe I told Bones I'm wrong earlier. Maybe this 4chan leak is something like entirely different. I wonder if the clones also have Yarrow cyberware, just like the protagonists of the main Marathon game. Ew, good pull, Blue Oyster Cultist. Yeah, one of the, I don't know, is it fair to call it a theory? I mean, there's a lot of evidence supporting basically the concept that the Mjolnir Mark IV cyborgs, the thing that made them kind of so relevant is that they had Yarrow tech kind of installed into them. A lot of reference to that. For me, I think the primary thing that convinced me of that is the chapters of Marathon Infinity are obviously kind of aligned with the stages of rampancy. So you're kind of experiencing rampancy for, as a cyborg, which I think would be really tied to the idea that they're using this kind of advanced Yarrow technology. Thinking about Marathon, I'm not a fan, but decided to play 1 to 3 last week. They could go even further and get the skeletons from Pathways into Darkness. Yeah, absolutely. This is I've said it a few times, but that is the thing that, they're pulling the word artifacts. The only time referenced in any Marathon thing ever is the conclusion of the Pathways into Darkness player manual or whatever, where they talk about Sergeant Eddings, the main character, the protagonist from Pathways, has artifacts from that South American temple or whatever. And they talk about artifacts, obviously, within the trailer. Maybe the cloning tech came from Eurotech. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, what does the UESC know? Why did they pick Tau Ceti out of, obviously it's a very close by and it's a habitable planet, but did the Eurotech point them in that direction? Did the Yarrow diplomat who appeared before Bill Clinton in the 90s to tell him about the working calendar, point some more give some more intel than what we kind of learn? Huge gamble, really hope it succeeds. You've been hacked. How you doing? You've been hacked. Do you think there will be more Mark IV cyborgs made in the Marathon universe? I kind of subscribe to what Blue Oyster is saying here. And the idea that what made the Mark IV cyborgs so special is that they had some sort of technology that humanity could not reproduce. I do believe that the Sakaguchi tech is based probably like somewhere way back in history, may have had some kind of involvement with ancient Eurotech, but I don't know that the Mark IV cyborgs could be remade, or even if all of the Mark IV cyborgs, utilized whatever made the protagonist so special. Maybe they make some Eurotech, more rarest ones that are more powerful or something. That's a good point. Best Bungie is back against the wall, Bungie. It's a fair point. That's a fair point. Halo 2, I think, was famously made in some ridiculously short amount of time, and I think at the time maybe the reception was different, but Halo 2's campaign is so good and it's such a good vibe to it, so gritty. And just to come from Halo Combat Evolved to Halo 2 and see what that kind of sets up, really well done, especially in the short amount of time. The Yarrow were on Tau Ceti, obviously. Hopefully in this new game coming out, we're going to have a map editor where we can pull out and see some wonderful messages written there. I think a cool mission could be stopping the Four from destroying Yarrow tech. Four will destroy any Yarrow tech they don't know how to use. Very true. That could be cool. Yeah, there's so many opportunities. And what are these artifacts? Are the artifacts ancient Yarrow tech? Are they for technology? Are they something else entirely that nobody is aware of? Is that kind of why the Ford, seemingly with the presence of the Sphit, chose to stay around on Tau Ceti 100 years later, or are they really just waiting for humanity to arrive with backup so they can kind of figure out the location of Earth and defeat them even further? Forgot the asterisks to make the reply funny. Happens to the best of us. In the Equanimity Manifest drafts, they mentioned cyborgs, but switched them out for clones. Any leaks about the map structure? That is a good point, Sneaky. They do talk about cyborgs, and they even kind of reference. They don't reference directly Battleroids, but they maybe that's what they're referring to as well. Any leaks about the map structuring? Yes, there was a leak about map structuring. Let's kind of scroll up here to look, because I think they had it in here. Kind of closest thing. There was customizable weapons. I was wrong in my last marathon report by saying that the map layout will change every time. There are normal big maps, but they were also testing a map that is controlled by glitched AI that randomizes some assets and theoretically makes its layout change every time. So basically kind of a confirmation of what we've been talking about, this kind of idea of a persistent map. But I also believe the stuff from the end of last year was saying 3 maps, but this is saying lap layout will remain the same. So I guess I could be open to multiple maps, just the layout stays the same, and there are normal big maps, so even that's pluralized. So yeah, still probably looking at a 3-map idea, but not the randomized assets that I guess he had reported earlier. Bro just realized the only FPS games I play with map headers are TF2 and Marathon. Map Easter egg in the new game would be like Bill Clinton was on Tau Ceti. That's, to be fair, that might be even scarier. Bill Clinton creeping around Tau Ceti is not something I would want to run into. New Epstein Island just dropped. Tau Ceti. I haven't heard anything about maps, Jolly. Sneaky, I think that's the only thing that we got there. Don't we use an artifact to activate the AI that fused with Durandal, or am I crazy? Let me think. So Thoth is the AI that fuses with Durandal on Lahawan. I don't know. Do we use a artifact there? Is obviously would be referring to Yarrow technology, because the Yarrow are the ones who created the Sphit, upgraded them cybernetically. But I don't know if do we use something, or do we do some classic Marathon shit and destroy some stuff to free him? I don't recall. Oh yeah, we fused Durandal with Thoth. Yeah, I don't know what the actual mechanism that we used to do that. I don't remember. Non-serious theory, Mark 4.5. They wanted to remake the Mark IV after Mr. 54 went incredibly hard, but they couldn't figure it out. Yeah. Mark 4 minus 0.5. Bill Clinton saw Tau Ceti and he was nice. The SETI flightless. Yeah. What was Epstein's fucking the Lolita Express? Is that what we're calling the marathon now? I'm a sucker for world building. If they nail that, might be hooked to play. Bungie has a stellar track record, visual storytelling, and artistry when it comes to locations, etc. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how to pronounce it, Jali or Ali. But definitely one of the things that I have kind of been talking about throughout my coverage of Marathon thus far is this. Exactly. And like I mentioned earlier, John Goff, who I believe is the narrative director for the game right now, kind of had made a post on the anniversary of the ARG from this year, talking about kind of what went into putting that together, and also kind of referenced the fact that Robert McLeese, who was, I believe, an artist for Marathon 2 or Marathon 1, was also involved in the narrative and story building that they did for the ARG. So they do care about a lot of passions going into it. And if you read through the ARG stuff, the way that it ties sections of it together, the way that it explains kind of the Mida Rebellion and the corporate involvement with that, kind of, not so on the nose, but very cleanly, is awesome. The Biomata Express, the Bobita Express. How are we this evening? True Pac-Man, I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well as well. All right, let's read a few more of these just to make sure we didn't miss anything. I wouldn't trust this guy. Jason Schreier says he's full of shit when he's leaking things about Bioshock a year or two ago. Interesting. And Jason Schreier, we just talked about, obviously a few days ago with the Christopher Barrett stuff, is the one who put out that information, which obviously seems to be pretty accurate. No, I'm sorry. Historically, SP experience gets turned into a $500 per game ecosystem like Destiny. I know this won't happen, but let's just make a single player campaign. I understand why people might be opposed to it, but I think it's going to be cool. I mean, in the end, they are all just leaks and rumors, but think that a game that's supposed to release this year and hasn't even had any gameplay shown isn't in trouble is a bit copium for this sub. The game almost guaranteed will come out just like the post says. They have put far too much into the game for it not to, but to pretend that it's all rainbows and nothing is wrong with its development is just delusional. I think the thing about this, though, is that it was never substantiated or stated directly by Bungie that the game was going to launch this year. That is something that I don't know, was either reported or we came to the conclusion to or something, but that is absolutely not what the fuck Bungie said. Bungie specifically fucking said in the Vidoc, we're going to release this shit and then we are going dark. We're not it's not oh, we're going to be chill. We're going to hang out for a little bit and not say so much. No, we're going dark, That means zero, nothing, for a while, and they said it. Was it supposed to come out? Yeah, I don't think so. So I don't think it was supposed to come out this year. I've never seen that anywhere from anybody at Bungie. The only thing that we've heard directly was we're going to release this Vidoc in this trailer, and then we're going to go dark for an extended period of time, which a year may feel like a long time to us, but this is, a major game getting created by people. A lot of work goes into it. So they have people that worked on the originals working on this one. Yes, they do. Let me see here. What he says. With the layoffs at Bungie, the fact there has essentially been no word about it, and most damning that there has been zero footage of it, shows that it has a troubled launch. We don't know if it's a troubled launch. It has not launched yet. So I'm not trying to go too hard on this guy. I understand what he's saying. I understand what they're saying. There is a lot of negative shit coming out of Bungie. Obviously, that's been the majority of the news. Imagine it's not even 2020X, it's 2050X. Yeah. Yeah, then we'll become like the Silksong people waiting for that game indefinitely, or even worse, the Half-Life 3 fans. Which I guess actually might. There's another leak about that, I guess, going on. Maybe that's closer. That's what the Vidoc said. Late year, and then CB situation happened. So I'd say they likely slowed them down a bit, but not a catastrophic amount. Yeah, I agree. Just can't get excited for anything that isn't a new single-player shooter when it comes to Bungie. Fair. If that's your swag, that's your swag. All right, I think we've been through everything. I think we covered it. What's my take? What's my final thought, my conclusion here that I'm coming to about this leak? The rumor review. Honestly, if we keep only getting shit like this, it's going to have to become a whole segment. I hope we're the Geometry Dash fans and not the Hollow Knight fans. Yeah. Nop 2, win. Jason Jones, Alex Seropian, answer for your crimes. I guess in totality, it seems like everything he's saying here is a pretty safe bet. Like we kind of went through earlier, there's a handful of things that seem like, way more specific than everything else that we've gotten. But everything else here, it sounds pretty fair from just if you really dive into the ARG and really dive into kind of what people have been kind of subtle saying on Twitter, what this channel has been about for the past, 9 months or whatever. I think it's fair to say that a lot of what's being put forth here seems fairly reasonable. As far in terms of the stuff where it's putting directly about the maps and the customizable runner presets, all stuff that we've Bon, Sato, Sneaky have all kind of had conjecture about. I do like kind of this person putting forth that the hero shooter stuff is kind of a bunch of hocus pocus, fake news shit. Kind of the assumption I've been coming to, just because it doesn't seem like anything backing up, but who knows? Maybe we're wrong. Hero shooter isn't a bad genre. It's just that OW and Valorant suck. Yeah. Original Overwatch wasn't bad, but then when they got rid of original Overwatch to release it again with a 2 next to it or whatever, I think that's when it lost me. Forrest Gump 2 win. Apparently in the Forrest Gump books, I think he like goes to space or something. I don't think that. New League Marathon's been canceled. Myth 4 very far in development. Overall, these seem like fair kind of guesses to make. Does seem like this person is indicating that they have some level of insider information. So everything that they put forth here about that, the map stuff and this stuff about customizable runner presets, I'm all behind that. The hero shooter stuff not being legit, a more hunt direction. If that turns out to be true, these are all things that make me happy and I would be pleased with. But overall, I'm gonna give it a let's give it a probability of being accurate. I'm gonna give it a 72%. This is very technical math I'm doing entirely internally to me. If anyone here has seen Dune, this is the Mintat work, given my symposium of information that I've gained inside my mind. My Mintat capabilities are saying 72% accuracy rating on this information. All seems fair. Nothing crazy unreasonable is being said to me, and all seems like stuff that would make me excited about the game. So yeah, personally, Valorant is a good hero shooter. Valorant was good. I played it like when it first came out, like when it was like maybe it was in beta or like when they were doing the Twitch drops for it and stuff. I thought it was fun. I haven't played it since. It's on consoles now too. Jordan Marvel Rivals beta. I think the hero shooter thing is definitely inflated. 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. But yeah, all right. I'm glad we went through this. We'll see. We'll use this as the kind of archive for what turned out to be right. We'll go back and laugh at my thoughts later after it's out. I have a friend who's excited for Marathon 2020X, but fully expects it to flop. He needs more hopium in his life. Hook him up on the stream. Over 9,000. Sneaky, You've Been Hacked, Bond, Ghosty Games, Giant Onions. Let's see out. True Pac-Man, Jolly, Blue Oyster Cultist, everybody. You guys are all Yun Bruh, great name once again. Thank you, Tawny Boy. Thank you, everybody who came out. Christopher, I appreciate all the support. I'm glad we got to do this. And I have some videos coming out this week. Like I said, I have a conversation with Sneaky that I've just been having some technical issue with, but we're going to put that together. Talking to him about some Marathon. I have another Marathon's Musing video coming out, and I have a creative project in the realm of Marathon coming through, hopefully within the next few weeks that I'm very excited for. So I appreciate everybody. You are all the heroes, stream VPs. I love you all. And that is a wrap. Good night, sweet dreams. Ta-ta, toodaloo.